Are you truly living your own life, or just performing the one others wrote for you? There comes a moment, quiet and unannounced, when you sit in your room, look around at all you've built, all you've become, and still feel a weight in your chest, a strange hollowness, a silent ache. You might have what many would call a good life. A stable job, someone by your side, food on the table, maybe even a few dreams realized. And yet, deep down, something feels missing, something you can't quite name. Carl Jung once said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul." And that's the problem. You've been so focused on building a life that looks right, that feels successful, that checks all the boxes. You forgot to ask if that life belongs to you, if it reflects your essence, or if it's just a mask, crafted to be acceptable, admired, approved. And that emptiness inside you, it's the part of you that got left behind in that process. You're not alone in this feeling. Millions carry it in silence. They smile in photos, post achievements online, hold conversations at dinner tables. But when they're finally alone, the emptiness rushes back in like a wave. Familiar, cold, deep. It's not because you're ungrateful. It's because the external world can never compensate for an internal disconnect. Jung called this disconnect the loss of the self, the forgetting of who you truly are beneath the roles, titles, and expectations. From a young age, you were told what to do, what to value, who to become. You were shaped to fit into a mold, to survive, to be good. And you succeeded. You learned to perform, to be agreeable, responsible, focused. But in that performance, pieces of you started falling away. Your truth, your fire, your desires, your soul. Now the soul doesn't scream. It doesn't demand. It waits and whispers through discomfort. That persistent emptiness you feel is not a flaw. It's a message. It's your soul trying to get your attention. And that's why success, love, or stability, even when achieved, feels strangely hollow. Because what you wanted wasn't those things. You wanted the feeling you thought they'd bring: wholeness, peace, aliveness, purpose. But no external accomplishment can give you that. Because you're not meant to be filled from the outside in. You're meant to awaken from the inside out. Jung said, "Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakens." This is your awakening. This is the moment when the old ways stop working. When the world tells you you should be happy, but your soul says, "I'm still empty." And that inner voice is your truth. It's the part of you that's tired of pretending, tired of playing a role, tired of chasing things that don't satisfy. Because maybe you've never really lived your life. You've only managed it. And now you're being called to something deeper. Something that doesn't look impressive on the outside, but feels real on the inside. The journey to reclaiming yourself isn't easy. It requires unlearning. It demands silence. It invites discomfort. But that discomfort is sacred. It's the sign that your soul is still alive, still watching, still waiting for you to return. So let me ask you again, are you living or just surviving? If this spoke to you, comment the word reunion below. Let this be your signal to come home to yourself. And if this message reached a part of you that the world never sees, subscribe now. This channel is a refuge for those who are ready to stop performing and start becoming. There's a hidden room inside you. You don't visit it often, maybe never. But it's there, locked, heavy, quiet. It holds the parts of you you've silenced, the anger you never expressed, the sadness you pretended wasn't there, the fear you buried so deep you forgot it had a voice, the truth you swallowed just to be accepted. Carl Jung called this the shadow. Not a flaw, not a failure, but a necessary and forgotten part of the self. It's made of everything you had to reject in order to survive. Everything you couldn't be because it was too inconvenient, too ugly, too emotional, too real. And here's the hard truth. The more you reject these parts and the more empty you become, the more you build your life around who you should be, the more you lose touch with who you are. Because nothing buried stays silent forever. Everything you repress, expresses, it leaks into your relationships, your decisions, your moods. It shows up as overreactions, numbing habits, sudden sadness you can't explain. It shows up as emptiness. Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." So maybe that emptiness you feel isn't depression. Maybe it's a message, a mirror, a quiet rebellion of the self against the false identity you've constructed. Society teaches us to be pleasant, productive, pleasing, but it never teaches us to be whole. You became the peacemaker when you wanted to scream. You became the caretaker when you needed care. You became the achiever when you just wanted to rest. And each time you betrayed a truth within yourself, you carved a little more space inside for the emptiness to grow. But here's the miracle. The shadow isn't your enemy. It's your doorway back to wholeness. Jung emphasized this time and time again. There is no light without shadow, and no wholeness without imperfection. Your healing begins the moment you stop running, when you finally turn toward the darkness with curiosity instead of fear, when you stop numbing and start listening. Because the emotions you've suppressed, they don't want to destroy you. They want to guide you. That anger has something to say. That grief needs to be held. That fear is asking to be seen, not shamed. And once you stop resisting them, once you welcome them, the void starts to soften. You begin to feel yourself again. Not the version of you the world molded, but the original version, the honest version, the full version. That's the path back. Not perfection, integration. Bringing together the parts you've scattered, hidden, judged, until you become whole again. And yes, it's terrifying. But Jung reminds us, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. If you've felt this inner tug, this pull toward truth even when it's messy, comment the word shadow below. Let it be a small act of rebellion, a signal that you're no longer willing to abandon yourself. And if this message met you where the world usually doesn't, subscribe now. Here, we don't fake the light. We walk through the dark, together. You believe you're making your own choices, that the life you're living is yours, that your values, dreams, and goals are authentic. But what if they're not? What if you're unknowingly living inside a script you never wrote? Carl Jung called it the collective unconscious, a vast invisible field of inherited memory, an inner archive of archetypes, ancestral patterns, and emotional codes passed down through generations. The roles you play, the responsible one, the quiet one, the high achiever, may not be expressions of who you truly are. They may be echoes of other people's fears, desires, and expectations. This is what makes the emptiness so hard to explain, because the world looks at your life and says, "You're doing great," but your soul whispers, "This isn't me." And it's not. You're not broken. You're just living a life that doesn't match your truth. Jung believed that our psychological suffering often stems from identifying with the persona, the mask we wear to function in society. It helps us survive. But if we never remove it, it becomes a prison. The privilege of a lifetime, Jung said, is to become who you truly are. But how can you become your true self if you've never met them? If your entire life has been spent meeting the expectations of others? If you've always prioritized being good over being real? Think about your childhood. What was rewarded? What was punished? What did you learn to hide just to be loved? These early teachings shaped your unconscious. And now, as an adult, you may be repeating emotional patterns that were never yours to begin with. This is where the void begins. You've climbed ladders you never wanted to be on. You've chased dreams that belonged to someone else. You've silenced instincts that were your compass. And now, there's a numbness, a fatigue of the soul, a quiet grief for a life you never gave yourself permission to live. But here's the truth. You can stop repeating. You can choose something different. But first, you must become aware of what you're repeating. Jung emphasized that most people never become individuals. They simply become reflections. Reflections of culture, of family, of archetypes. But awakening begins the moment you realize you're not obligated to carry any of it. You are not your lineage. You are not your job. You are not your trauma. You are not the version of you that was invented just to feel safe. You are something deeper, something that's been trying to surface your entire life, through confusion, through dreams, through longing. But you have to make space for it. That means grieving the identity you've built. It means confronting the fear of disappointing others. It means choosing your inner truth over external validation. And yes, it will feel like loss, but it will be the beginning of freedom. Jung wrote, "You are not what happened to you, you are what you choose to become." So if you're tired of the repetition, if you're ready to unlearn what you were told was normal and rediscover what's actually real for you, comment the word awakening below. Let it be your first conscious break from the cycle. And if this stirred something inside you, subscribe to the channel. Here we question the scripts. We reclaim the self. We remember who we were before we forgot. At some point, the life you've built begins to crack. Not because you did something wrong, but because it's no longer aligned with who you're becoming. And this moment, this in-between space where the old no longer fits and the new hasn't fully arrived, is terrifying. But it's also sacred. Carl Jung called this process individuation, the journey of becoming the person you were always meant to be beneath the masks, the roles, the conditioning. It's not about self-improvement. It's not about fixing what's broken. It's about remembering what's true. Jung said, "Individuation is the process by which a person becomes a psychological individual. That is, a separate, indivisible unity or whole." And here's what he meant. You're not here to be perfect. You're here to be whole. That means embracing not only your light, but also your shadow, your mess, your fear, your contradictions. And yes, that means everything you've repressed in order to be liked or safe must now rise to the surface. Not to destroy you, but to integrate you. This is why the emptiness feels so loud now. Because the life you've been living was built on avoidance. Avoiding truth, avoiding confrontation, avoiding the deeper self that was always waiting. But now, you can't avoid anymore. Because the mask is too heavy, the role is too tight, and the pain of staying asleep has become greater than the fear of waking up. This is the space where transformation begins. The problem is, most people try to escape it. They rush to rebuild, to find new identities, new labels, new distractions, because being between selves feels unbearable. But if you can stay there, if you can resist the urge to fix it too quickly, you'll begin to notice something. A quiet inner voice, a new kind of clarity. Not loud, not certain, but real. That voice is yourself, the deepest, truest core of who you are. Not your ego, not your title, not your past. And this self doesn't want you to perform. It wants you to live, to express, to feel, to align. But to become that self, something must die. The version of you that was built for survival. The version that was always trying to earn love, prove worth, avoid judgment. That death is painful. It feels like falling apart. It feels like losing control. But Jung taught us that this breakdown is not the end. The greatest and most important problems of life are all fundamentally insoluble, he wrote. They can never be solved, but only outgrown. You don't need to solve your emptiness. You need to outgrow the identity that created it. You are in a sacred transition. You are not breaking down. You are breaking open. And what comes next is not another mask, but your original face. If you're in this liminal space and if you feel like you're losing everything but somehow finding yourself, comment the word transition below. And if you're walking this difficult but sacred path, subscribe to the channel. Here we honor the discomfort. We don't rush healing. We make space for rebirth. If you're still here, watching or listening to these final moments, it's not because this video entertained you. It's because something deep inside you recognized itself in these words. That emptiness you've been carrying, the one you've tried to explain, ignore, or outgrow. It's not weakness, it's not a flaw. It's a sign that your soul is still alive. In a world addicted to speed and success, your emptiness is sacred. Carl Jung reminded us, your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens. Maybe you're awakening, not in the way books promise, not with fireworks or spiritual highs, but in quiet, disorienting moments of truth. Moments when the life you're living no longer feels like your own. Moments when the people around you don't really see you. Moments when even your joy feels muted, because it's not coming from your truth. But here's the good news. You are not behind. You are not lost. You are not broken. You are in the birth canal of transformation. You are unlearning. You are letting go. You are making space for what's real. And yes, you may feel alone, but you are not the only one walking this path. There are others, quiet souls scattered across the world, feeling the same things, asking the same questions, refusing to pretend anymore. This channel is for you, not for the person you show to the world, but for the one you meet in the silence, the one who's tired of wearing masks, the one who just wants to feel whole. This is a space for slow healing, for uncomfortable truths, for honest reflections, and for remembering the parts of you that the world made you forget. So if this video gave you language for what you've been feeling, if it reminded you that your pain has a pattern, if it helped you see your emptiness as a beginning, not an end, then don't leave without making this moment count. Comment the word truth below. Not for me, for you. As a declaration, I'm ready to face what's real, and if you feel it in your gut, subscribe. Not because this is just a channel, but because this might be the first space in your life that meets you exactly where you are. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs more people willing to go deep, to go inward, to become whole. You are one of them, and the journey has already begun.